Hello everybody from a wet and not the best looking day at Alberton. So it just happened that this weekend I'm in Adelaide visiting family, and it also happens to be the weekend that the girls have their practice match against the Melbourne D's. I've come here to Alberton Oval to see what the team's looking like as we go into the 2026 season. Hey everybody, just came in and bought myself a brand new jumper because this big puffer jacket I wear is very much not useful in the later part of the season when it gets too hot. But regardless, we're here, and none of the players are out at the moment. I thought usually around this time the players would be out in the field doing warm-ups, but obviously being pre-season they're doing things a bit differently here. So regardless, gonna go check out the new change rooms and sort of facilities that the women's got, where they'll be running out this time. Obviously they won't be running out of the regular races over there. So interesting to see what's going on, and chat to some of the other fans about how they're feeling about today. Woo!
Come on now. We'll go watch them train now.
Alright, the Port girls are out, and so too the D's. Alright, up here in the precinct, or that's what I call it these days, the Alberton Bar or something. Feels definitely starting to get very lively now. Just over here we have all the family of the players. It's a nice little reserve section I'm not allowed to go into. Regardless, it seems to be running out quite nicely. But hopefully a fun pre-season game of AFLW. Alrighty-o. So the players are off the field now. We're getting ready to start. I myself have just been having a little chat with some of the players' family members. I just had a nice chat with a man named Adam, who is Grace Parsons' father. I'm obviously excited to see his daughter, make it into an AFLW team. So it was a nice conversation with him, yeah, we're getting pretty close to starting. Alright, the girls have just ran out, and thankfully they are playing the theme song today, which is good. There's the girls there, and then up there, it's hard to see, are the off-field players today who aren't playing. Interestingly, including Ellie Hampson and Molly Brooksby. Alright, gonna start from up here in the grandstand, hopefully get a bit of an elevated view of the ground so we can see how we're structuring up this year. Alright, quarter time, scores are level at 1-2 each, 8-8. We poured off to an early start, but Melbourne definitely had the more dominant attack. But we've done some pretty good counter work, which has been pretty impressive. The defence is definitely holding, outside of a gifted free kick. Alright, it's half time. Melbourne with a slight edge, 22-17. But it's been a pretty good game. And remember, Melbourne was a team that finished second on the ladder last year and almost bet North Melbourne in the prelim. So I think we're doing pretty good if we're this close to Melbourne in strength. Alright, so I've come to the other ground so we can see the how things are going down this end. as we get into the second half. Nice mark by Lauren. Straight into another turnover. All right, 3/4 time, 1 quarter left. Port is down by 7, 23 to 30, but a bit of a poor start to the quarter. We have stayed in it. Fingers crossed we can pull out a bit of an upset in the last quarter. All right, 4th quarter is just about to begin, and I've decided to come right down here to our goal end to hopefully see us kick a few goals. Fingers crossed it's not all down Melbourne's end, because I'll sort of be quite far from the action. Regardless, let's see how things go. After it looked like Melbourne was running away with it, we're actually now back within a goal with I don't know how much time's left. The boards have yet to show up over there. They could just not be showing them, but fingers crossed we still got enough time to win this game. We were close, but the D's end up winning by 5. Alright guys, I finally made it back home and had a bit of time to ponder how that pre-season match went, and well, here's basically some of the thoughts I had from the game. Starting off, obviously we were up against a really good team in the Melbourne Demons, a team which, I remind you, finished 2nd on the ladder last year and almost bet North Melbourne in the prelim final. So this is clearly a very powerful team we're up against today, and the fact that we lost by only 5, but by under a goal, and that with a really impressive comeback in the last quarter, I don't think we should really degrade any of the efforts our girls put out there today. This was definitely a way better performance than that game against the Pies last year where we only kicked 2 goals. So yeah, I definitely think this is a much better sign for the team going into this year than I think our preseason games last year were indicating. And I think one of the areas where that has been shown for the team definitely has to be in the defence. So obviously I had my eye on how we were defending this year after how leaky we got last year. We conceded so many goals last year. Yeah, I thought the defence held up pretty well. Obviously Melbourne had a lot of the domination throughout the game. I think especially in those first 3 quarters, they definitely felt like it was just stuck down our defensive end of the field, and kudos to the girls, they held out pretty well, with the exception of a bit near the end of the 3rd quarter and the start of the 4th quarter where I think the D's kicked around 4 goals on us. That was probably the worst bit of defensive play, but outside of that part of the game I think we held up really well. In contrast, while the D's were looking like they weren't able to attack us much at all, we actually had some pretty good attacks going the other way. Obviously, that opening goal to Gemma Housen in the 1st quarter that got us the lead early on was definitely obviously a great sign. There was a few other times we had some really good attacks into our 50, just unfortunately let down by some really bad disposal errors. Obviously, last year we were infamous for being one of the worst disposal efficiency teams in the competition, and unfortunately I did see a little bit of that at the game where we obviously had a good run going and kicks and handballs, only for us to just overshoot a handball, overshoot a kick, or even undershoot a handball kick. Players were not expecting them, had to make quick turns and slipping over. Obviously killed a lot of moments where, we dropped some really obvious center marks, I think, around the arc, which, if we got that mark or passed it in, it would have been an easy mark and straight into a goal. But because we dropped it, we invited the pressure, a Demons player came down on us, and lo and behold, we had a tackle, ball up, and our momentum was all lost. Obviously, I know this is preseason, so, these fumbly things are to be expected, but at the same time, this is the third game the girls have played this year. Maybe you think that you should be getting a bit better than this. Another area where I think they need to be doing a lot better is stop giving away free kicks. Like, my goodness, the differential, I think we had 11 free kicks to 22 the Demons way, so yeah. I think a lot of it might have been some of the younger players, obviously getting used to the speed of the game, and when you're not expecting it, you suddenly do accidental high tackles or get caught holding the ball. But yeah, it's just a small one, but please don't make this a trend this year that we end up giving away a lot of free kicks. Obviously, another area I'm interested to look in what's going on is our contested work. Obviously, we talk a lot about the disposal efficiency and the free kicks, but another way where the D's were getting a lot of, free kicks, if you consider that, were in the marks, that they were doing a much better job, I think, than us in contested marking and just also contested ball use. I just really found the Demons were much better at marking the ball under pressure than we were. They're also a lot better at disposing the ball, I found, throughout a lot of the game. Obviously getting their handballs and kicks to connect, and also just doing a really good job marking in packs. Not to run our team too short, we obviously had some great efforts from Heads in defence, doing a great job, and to a lesser extent Jamek were doing a good job in a few contested marks in defence. And on the offense, I do want to give a big shout out to Lauren Young, who I thought was doing a really good job in making sure she got under the flight of the ball. And she was definitely a key figure in a lot of the goal assists. She was sort of working up on the wing in the later part of the game, and was one of the key reasons we got a lot of ball movement at that point of the game. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to get a goal herself, but definitely showing the team what we can do in terms of congested mark work. Staying on the topic of some players who I thought was doing a good job with the contested ball work, definitely want to talk about Indy Tahau. Obviously, also someone who didn't have a goal today. She unfortunately missed a sitter in this when she tried to soccer one in the goal square. But regardless of that, she did do a really amazing job. As I'm saying, we weren't doing the best job in moving the ball forwards, but I found out whenever she got on the ball, any one of our sloppy passes or kicks quickly turned into a really good passage of play down the field. I think she is really good at turning our sloppy ball movement into some really good play, and just the fact that this was a goalless game was probably just more of a fact that it was preseason. However, let's talk about the three players who really carried the team today, and that definitely was our midfield trio of Schultz, Woodland, and Dowrick, who between them I think were ranked the number 1, number 2, and number 6 best players on ground. So that's pretty impressive. Obviously, the game that we lost, Schultz absolutely dominated ruck hitouts again, and once again is another one of those solid marking targets across the field. But like a lot of players today, definitely needs to work on those kicks. Man, some of them were not very pretty to watch. But it was obviously nice to see her get a goal, which was a rather unusual one, where she kicked the goal. The goal umpire said it was touched, and then the field umpire comes over, and the next second it gets overturned into a goal. So that was a bit unusual. But besides her, Woodland obviously looks a lot more comfortable in the midfield this year than I think she did last year. Obviously doing a great job as that big body who's really hard to tackle. Has been a really good ball mover. And also you got Dowrick, who once again continues to be probably the star of this midfield with a bunch of amazing plays. And she even got a goal to boot, which is good because she had a bit of trouble scoring goals early last year. On a lesser note of the midfield, we had a few new faces on the ground, and obviously probably the most high profile of those had to be Sophie Eden, who I can tell you, her first possession got a massive cheer from the grandstand because it turned out there was a lot of Central Bulldogs players there, and I think I also met some of her family, and they were all like really excited when she got the first possession. Now, outside of that, I didn't actually see her much over the game, but when I had a look at her stats afterwards, she actually had surprisingly good stats. 11 disposals, 5 marks, and 3 tackles, which is definitely a really good performance, and I think she is definitely a lock to play in round 1 this year. While not as impressive, our second round draft pick in Olivia Crane also had 6 disposals, 3 marks, and 3 tackles down in defence. Now, I didn't see too much of her. Those numbers definitely looked pretty good, and I also think she also might be a possible round one debutante this year, especially because we might be a few defenders down, which I'll talk about in a bit of a later section. The final player of the new faces I really wanted to talk about today has to be Grace Parson, who we brought in today pretty much, despite the fact that I think she came in as a key forward. I think we pretty much only played her as the secondary ruck role today. Now, we did have Chloe Gaunt listed to play today, but she didn't play at all. Like, I think when the team ran out, she was just labelled as an injury, and I'm pretty sure she was sitting up in the players' rest area behind the ground watching with the other unselected players. So I don't know exactly what was going on there. But regardless, we basically got to see Grace Parsons go as the second ruck completely by herself. And while she obviously had a few hit-outs, she unfortunately didn't have any disposals or any other sort of play, so she really only did ruck work. It does give me a little bit of concern. Obviously, unfortunately, without Chloe Gaunt playing, I can't really compare which of these two players will be our second ruck, if either of them. Obviously, I think I saw Talhau once again going into the ruck, as much as I really don't like when she is in the ruck, because I don't think that's where she should be. But yeah, regardless, I don't really know where we're going with the second ruck. We'll just have to wait until round one to see what Strachan decides on. Staying a bit on the topic of Gaunt not playing, we did have a few players out today. Some were kind of easy to understand, like Boyd and Evans not playing due to unfortunately being on the lower end of our talent pool. And obviously, Caitlin Wedland is still in recovery from her ACL. Some of the stranger outs today definitely had to be Molly Brooksby and Sachi Syme, who weren't playing today. And quite notably, Ellie Hampson, our pickup from the Brisbane Lions last year. To make matters worse, when I actually saw the team walk off the field after the game, I saw Hampson on crutches. So I don't actually know what's happened with her. I think it might have been mentioned in the broadcast what's happened to Hampson, but that's a bit concerning. I think if she's on crutches, she's probably not playing for a week or two at least. So yeah, hopefully it's not something too serious and she is going to play this year. But on the bright side, outside of her, I did see Syme walking around. I think she just had some like muscle soreness or something, because she looks pretty fine walking around. So I assume she'll be okay for round one. And as for Brooksby, I didn't see her, so I don't exactly know what's going on. Same for also Sir Julia Tico and Ella Bogue, who also didn't take to the field today. I'm just assuming that a few of these are just, they had a few muscle sorenesses and they wanted to be extra careful. Also, because we had a similar issue last year where we had a few too many players get injured in the preseason, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're just taking a little bit more of a cautious approach with these players, and most of them should be fine. But yeah, definitely want to figure out what's gone on with Ellie Hampson, because that did not look good, and they haven't mentioned anything on the website about what her situation is. But regardless, that's sort of my review of the game and where the team is looking to be setting up going into round one. So stay tuned, guys. I've got a ladder prediction video coming up hopefully very soon with a friend of mine. And then I guess the next game coming up is the Australia vs Ireland game this Saturday, which I will be heading to watch. It's Sydney, so I'm pretty excited to see Schultz represent Australia, and it'll just be exciting to see all these other amazing players there. So stay tuned. I'll probably try and do a vlog of that video, but until then, let's go Power!